job. I'm here with an awesome, amazing woman, Garland Fuller. Hello, Garland. How are you?
Hello. Hello.
Good.
Good. I'm doing great. It's
Yeah.
Friday. It's Saturday.
Yay! It's a free day, work from home day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, it's awesome. Garland is joining me for Black Women's Careers Matter series, and she's actually in the diversity inclusion space as a profession. So her take is going to be interesting as we talk through that. But she found a way to navigate her power a little bit more effectively along the way, and also has a new podcast that we're going to talk about here. Garland, welcome to this interview, and thanks again for joining me for this powerful truth and open conversation that I've been having all week. I really appreciate you joining in on it.
No, thank you. I appreciate being included.
Yeah, thank you. You know, the interesting thing about being a career coach and watching different strata of women in different areas of their profession, different education levels, different backgrounds. We were talking about that a little bit beforehand. First educated generation women is a big chunk of the women who come through the career workshop. And what we find is that there's a certain element where, like, just say most people kind of hit a level where what they've learned and how to navigate sort of gets tapped out. And after a while of trying real hard and doing all the right stuff, we get depleted. You've been in the diversity inclusion space, kind of witnessing the growth and evolution of that profession and that endeavor. Where were you when we first started working together, as far as kind of like wanting a little bit more and needing to find another gear?
Yeah, no, I was at a place where I knew I had the stuff. I just felt stuck. I was, and I had like so many ideas of things I want. Like, I could envision it. Like, it's one thing when you envision it and you can see it, but then everyone else around you is not seeing it. And so you're like, okay, what do I have to do here?
Yeah.
How am I not effective in what I'm either saying or doing so that this is not coming through?
Yeah.
And I was referred by a friend who, you know, she was also first generation, and like, we have conversations offline, and she told me about you, and I was like, yeah, let's just do this. Because at that point I was like, I need to do something. Something needs to change. And clearly I don't have all the tools, so let me go and find the tools.
Yeah.
I was a former athlete in high school, and so coaching, to me, I get it. Like, you don't become a high performance anything if someone's not coaching you.
Yes.
So asking for help, because I know for certain communities of color, like, you know, keep your business to yourself. You don't need to tell anybody anything.
Yeah.
You just need to pray on it.
Right.
Or, which, you know, nothing against praying, but, you know, faith without works, okay, you still got to do the work.
Right.
Is huge. And so I was like, I just need to get the tools, and there's something I'm missing here. And I'm so glad I did it, because it shifted so many things for me that I was like, oh, that's what was going on. I was like doing too much. I was trying too hard. it was too much.
Yes.
Because when you apply pressure too hard in one area, it starts to crumble underneath.
Yes.
And so there is such a thing as like letting go, and just like knowing there's only so much you can control, and there's only so much that you have, and then just letting go. Yeah. So it sounds crazy, but there's something about, I think, your course that teaches women to just, at least for me, it was, you have what you have, and you just need to let go of some of the rest.
Right.
You don't need to respond to everything.
Right. Interestingly enough, even though that sounds like not doing or yielding to something else, what eventually it boils down to is having the confidence in who you are and what you're all about, to not have to be beaten on it all the time. So there's a level of confidence that has to happen inner soul power in order to be able to let go. Because if you don't have that inner level within you, you're all you know is effort. So the cool thing about bringing your soul's vibration up is that you now can work less hard to achieve more because you're operating from a center of gravity within instead of just effort, 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 effort.
Yes. You were talking about I hypervigilance this week.
Yes.
And this whole idea of like, you feel like you always have to be like paying attention to everything, like
Right.
analyzing things. And that is not it.
Right.
that is how you are exhausted.
Burn
That is
out.
how
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
tired.
Yes, exactly. And so, that is sort of a superpower that a lot of women learn in order to navigate the external world that could be full of surprises. And as we talked in the bigger group of Black Women's Lives Matter, when you're raised Black in particular, you have to be vigilant and you're always checking on what's going on outside.
Correct. Yes.
And that does create a really bad habit that we bring to work. How did you find that was sort of showing up along with all the effort, that you had to relax a little bit in order to kind of be in your zone?
Yeah. I mean, I see for me how it showed up is feeling like you always have to be prepared. Like there's this feeling of like anytime there's a meeting, there's a project, like, and I think this also like stems from the like superwoman, Black woman, myth. Like we have it all together. We can't show emotion. We've got to be like on. And so it's like when you don't leave any room for anything to go wrong or even to learn or to ask a question or to feel like you have space for something to happen because you're in your mind, you kind of already, you're prepared.
Yeah.
This is how you think it's supposed to go. Like it's just this.
Yes.
You're applying too much of yourself and expecting a result that may not be everyone else's, how they're even looking at it. Oftentimes I find that's not how they're looking at it. And so I think going through your course helped me to, it's that confidence of I already have everything I need. So if something gets thrown my way, I don't have to have the answer. It's not my responsibility to fix everything and be on for everything. Yes. I get to choose and be more strategic and be more like, where is my strength instead of feeling like you got to do everything and be strong at everything.
Yes.
And so for me, it was just, I show up and oftentimes it's listening and not feeling like I have to be, in the middle of it all. Right. Or just sometimes deciding what I want to work on and helping other people. So now I'm not focusing on myself because I'm not so focused on myself.
Yep.
Now I can actually, be present for others.
Yes.
And like, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. When I coach women in my workshop, one of the main transformations that happens at the beginning part is exactly what you talked about. Because when we're in spiritual or psychic emotional pain, the only thing we can do to survive is focus on how we feel and what's going on here. And when we start to feel better as a soulful being and bringing our divine brilliance up to light a little bit more, we get the relief. The danger brain doesn't have to be kicked in 24/7. Oh my God, what's going on? What's happening? Am I prepared? So when you can calm that down, lift your soul's energy up, you're so right. You can now pay attention and listen and be more present and engaged. We were talking about that earlier too. When our emotional state is not in a hyper stressed out state, we are more effective. We are optimized to be living and working in the world. And I think that goes back to the macro issue of Black women's careers and how many Black women, people in general, but obviously I work with women, many Black women are carrying this stress. I need to be overperforming. I need to be super vigilant. They're carrying that. It weighs a lot, doesn't it?
It weighs a lot. And I think it burns you out for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you become, the imposter syndrome starts. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't even talked about that.
No.
Where you're starting to wonder, okay, do I have, like, I've got these credentials, I know what I know, but like maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Like maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I don't have what it takes to make it. And so that, of course, then starts to reflect in your performance because you're not showing up like you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just starts to spiral from
Yes.
there if
Mm-hmm.
you don't nip it in the bud and
Right.
figure out how to
Yeah.
raise the vibration.
Yeah, exactly. In your work now, in the level of engagement and presence that you have now, what do you think your coworkers would say is different about you?
Oh gosh. Well, I changed jobs, which I think was necessary because I
Yeah,
think plateaued at the one that I was at before, which it's important to know when you've outgrown something and
that's
it's time
right.
to move on.
Sometimes
That's like
that's the
another
problem.
thing I've learned in the course. Like
Yep. Mm-hmm.
there's no reason you need to be so loyal that you need to stay past your expiration date.
Right.
Um, and so I think what's changed, people come to me, like, which it's all levels of the organization. It's not just the people who are my junior or who I think see me as a mentor type figure, but
Mm-hmm.
also people in leadership that want my, what do you think, or how should we handle this? Or it's just this trusted advisor role that I didn't have before that I love now. I love that that's how I'm perceived.
Yes. And that comes through feeling that level of worthiness inside. There's no way people see you that if you're not feeling that way inside. So I know you also are very passionate about getting your voice out and sharing your vision and thoughts. And you recently started your own podcast.
Yes.
Tell us about that and what's going on with that. And where.
Yeah. So I recently started a podcast called Full Circle with Garland. What I love about this podcast is it allows me to do what I do best, which is talk to people about their career journeys, hearing about the highs and lows. What are the things that they've learned along the way? So kind of sharing that knowledge and giving people who I know are awesome and a platform to be seen. Specifically, I'm focusing on diverse men and women. So, African American, Latino, Asian, kind of the voices that we don't hear about as often, because I think the only way we can start to bridge a lot of these divides is if we start to see and hear the similarities that we all share, that we can start to see each other as like souls, like having experiences, making sure that oh, wow, I never thought about it like that. Or, wow, that was an interesting story. Oh, that happened to me too. Those types of, I think, commonalities that we have are my hope for what people get from listening to this. And then I just love podcasts. So this is like one of my, personal goals list, something that you've always wanted to do, that you're like, let's do this. And so this is what Full Circle with Garland is all about.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about it. And it's really cool that, that you got it off the ground, because so many times we have a thought or an inspiration or a dream, and the first order of consequences stalls it out. Well, I don't know how, or it's going to take time, or, doing a podcast just to kind of get it off of the ground isn't a huge money outlay. So it's usually not that, but it's just like learning how to do it, or just even doing it, or what will people think if I invite them to be like that first kind of getting past that is just usually the most amazing, great, big, huge hurdle. So congratulations on that, because now you can enjoy the fun and the creativity once you've gotten kind of out of the gate, so to speak. So that's just really, really super great. Available on iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music.
Awesome.
You go to garlandfuller.com. I've got all the links there. You want to
Beautiful.
follow me on Instagram, we can do that too.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's been great. I don't think I realized, and this is another thing about just doing it. You only see this much. Your ability to understand what the impact is going to be, how
Yeah.
it's going to be received, is really just this much. When
Yeah.
it comes out, it's this big.
Yeah.
And so the outpouring that I've had from, colleagues, friends, just
Yeah.
people who I haven't heard from in a while
Yeah.
has just been very, just wonderful. So I always tell people, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's nothing you had to like quit your job over, or it's nothing super
Nope.
complicated once you kind of get things rolling. So again, congratulations to that. We were talking about the leanin.org study that was done with McKinsey about Black women's careers and the obstacles that are over and over again proven in studies. You sent me the Center for Talent Innovation study, Being Black in Corporate America, an intersectional exploration. And there was a little bit more detail on some other things in that. The data is out there. We understand the obstacles. If you read any of these studies, if you live in a mode of listening and paying attention, I mean, in my world, I see this every single day. So I live with it, and I help empower women through these obstacles and give them the tools to navigate it. But not all Black women have either the capacity to imagine something better or different, or the tools, or face it, one of the big things is just they don't have access to mentors and leaders that are lifting them through that next rung. You're in this profession. What are you seeing as the kind of like state of the union, and then what are you seeing as what companies and society has begun in this new next wave of moving toward, I don't know what the right word is. I didn't want to say racial equality because that's just not the right word. I think the right word to me is supporting those who have a disadvantage based on their race.
Correct. So what I'm seeing is that I think there's acknowledgement and understanding and awareness, which I think before was not there.
It was sort of like just conceptual.
Conceptually understanding that people
feeling it.
are having different experiences in the workplace.
Yes.
I think people think, oh, you just come, it's a meritocracy. You just come in and work really hard, and you're going to get that promotion. You're going to get that next, thing. And there's a lot of behaviors, processes, procedures, barriers to entry, who a lot of things
rules
that are happening that have nothing to do with meritocracy.
Right. I think most people in the workplace, when they're there, I don't know, maybe it takes a decade, sort of figure that out. But that is still a myth that exists in the workplace.
Yes.
So you work really hard, you don't get anywhere. What are the obstacles that Black women are really facing?
I think Black women are facing, so of course that first rung of leadership, which I think is talked about in there, and that's kind of what sets you up for everything else. So if you're not even getting to that first rung, that is an obstacle. I think the sponsorship is more sometimes important than the mentorship, because sponsorship is when you're in the room. When you're not in the room, who's wearing your t-shirt?
Exactly.
So when other people are around who are making decisions about who should we put here, who should we give this project to, do you have someone in the room that's got you top of mind, that's going to say, actually, we should give it to so-and-so, and here's why. Right. Because if you don't have someone wearing your t-shirt, you are not going to get put on that special project. You are not going to be considered for that next thing. So sponsorship is huge. I also would say, when it comes to the networking part of things, which is still I think the crux. I had to learn that myself. I think in the past 2 years, I've become the ultimate networker. I was there before, but I feel like I have leveled up
Yeah.
so
Awesome.
much
Yeah.
in terms of just how I show up, how to build rapport, how to, maintain relationships. You can't only reach out to people when you need them.
Right.
You need to be reaching out to people all the time, and not just, one-way street, two-way
Right.
street.
How about passing them some information of helping?
Two-way
I
street.
saw this. I thought of you. Absolutely. Totally.
And I don't think we understand that. Like,
No. Yeah.
really understand that.
Yeah. Right.
And I think we were talking, like, you have to get out of your own comfort zone too. So as much as you ask other people to meet you at a place, you have to meet them at a place.
Yeah.
And so that means you have to be vulnerable and share certain things about yourself. And I can say, as a Black woman prior, I would not have shared certain things about myself because, well, one, I don't even know, like, why am I sharing that? Like, culturally, we don't go there at work.
Yeah.
But two, I think people need to see you and know who you are, even if it's different.
Right.
Because that's how they will remember you.
Yeah. It's a human connection, isn't it?
It's a human connection.
When we become human with another human, we now have an intimacy. I mean, that's what it is. It's a level of intimacy. And if we have our guard on all the time, we're just kind of like this shell, and we have shell relationships or shell connections, no meaning. And if there's no emotional attachment to someone that you're networking with or relating to, they're not going to remember you. You're not going to feel significant. And it's just doing the thing without getting the payoff. And we were talking a little bit about that before. You just like, well, I know I'm supposed to be networking, so I'm going to do that. But if you're not engaging and interweaving meaning and connection, which is, in the workshop, I have the elevator pitch include a childhood story. And the level of intimacy that an individual gets for herself on who she is based on that childhood story lights up the soul like a Christmas tree. And when we share that with someone else, oh, 9th grade, cool. Oh, it instantaneously gets at their humanity. And that's why it's such a great connector to have those stories. And you're right, there may be courage involved. There may be a little break of the social rules that you were raised with. There may be needing to step into, will this person judge me based on this? And we're not talking about sharing deep, dark secrets. I mean, it's not about that, but it's just being a person.
Yeah, it's being a person. So my first episode of my podcast, I shared that I was, I'm from Belize, first generation student to college. And a lot of people emailed me after. I didn't know you were born in Belize. Oh my gosh. I didn't know. And so, as small of a detail as that is,
right,
it's something that resonates with someone that says, oh, wow, so she understands what it's like to come here from another place and have to learn another culture.
Yes.
And there's just these little things that I think we all have in common that we just miss.
Yes.
Because everyone's just, focused on the task, focused on the work.
Yeah.
Which it's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. But if we can warm up to each other a bit more, learn about each other a bit more, there's so much more that can be bridged and overcome because now this person is seeing you.
Yes.
Versus just seeing this version of yourself, this representative that you're showing up as.
Right.
Because that's what you think they want to see and know about you.
Right.
Versus what really is the heart of who you are.
Exactly. I mean, so it's really interesting because when we're little, and I know you have a daughter, but I'm sure you remember when she was 3 or 4 years old, all we want is for mom or dad or someone to see us twirling around, dancing, jumping, running. All we want is to be seen. That's all a little soul wants. And we never grow out of that.
Yeah.
But what happens is the veneers and the protections and the danger that we perceive and what we're told, and all of this covers all of our brilliant soulful energy, and all of that loveliness of, see me do this, look at me, hey, come on. That's what we want. And it's kind of like we're these energetic bubbles all floating around in the quantum field, and all we want to do is high five each other. Hey, nice to see you. Hey, nice to see you. And
Yeah.
we get covered up in all kinds of BS that doesn't really matter. And that's why I think it's so great that you started the podcast, because you get seen and that feels good. You get other people to get seen and that feels good. And you open up the dialogue of what's really important in life.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. What are you hoping for your 12-year-old daughter as she's navigating the world, and you're being the lovely mother preparing her? What are you hoping for her?
I'm hoping that and I see it a little bit already. Um, she just has a very good sense of letting people be who they are, like, because she wants to be who she is. And
Yeah.
so if you want to, show up and be who you are and whatever that looks like, that
Mhm.
means you accept other people
Yeah.
in the way they show up. And
Yeah.
so what I love about this next generation, because I think they have, one, access to information so easily, but two, I think, so she was born when Barack Obama became president. And so her start of life has just been a different start of life.
I'll say, right, right.
She has friends of all backgrounds,
Mhm.
and they already are talking about their sexuality, and
Mhm.
they're already digging deeper into subjects of what's going on in the current zeitgeist. So I
Mhm.
think this generation has activism and awareness of social justice
Mhm.
just by virtue of the time that they're being born in.
Right.
And as a result, my hope is that she will continue to just see things in a way that is less divisive and
Yes.
less, like
Mhm.
us and them, and you're either this or you're that. Like, you
Right.
can be both. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. That's so awesome. I don't know, maybe it was 10 or 15 years ago, maybe it was 20, the blending of gender identity and what kind of began to happen with the whole transsexual dialogue and discussion, probably around the world, but I'm sort of United States focused in my geopolitical lens. I think that really began to change our ideas about just the whole living as a human being, not being a binary experience. And obviously, mixed race people have this from that perspective as well. There's a lot of blending of a lot of human characteristics and identity that has happened probably over the last 50 years in particular. And I think, I am hopeful, and I pretty much think that this actually helps neutralize the differences that everyone gets inflamed over on the racial perspective. And I'm looking forward to having a much more open societal expectations, and yes, allowing people to be who they are rather than follow a prescription. Raised Catholic and being a white young girl, I was supposed to be following a particular pathway, and I did it really well, and I followed orders, and I played by the rules for a long time, and I wondered what was not feeling good and right in me, and finally kind of finding my soul and realizing the uniqueness that I bring was like like this big awakening. I was just following rules for so long, I didn't know who I was. And my mother, and probably the generations before, even more so, in following the dogma and the way that they were supposed to be. My mother never cared about whether she felt good as a evolving human being. Yeah, I mean, as long as she paid attention to the rules of the Catholic Church. So I think each generation keeps getting more comfortable being who they are. And to me, that's just really exciting, because all the time wasted in feelings of negative self-worth. And God bless therapists, but a lot of time that people have spent trying to find themselves again. When we raise our kids knowing that they can feel good about who they are, it just saves a lot of angst in the world.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about this next generation is that they have an awareness of that early, like
Yeah.
very early.
Yeah. Yeah. Their vocabulary and their personal experience is completely different. I don't know if I talked about how I felt until I was in my 30s.
Yes. Yes. No, I mean, I mean, she already knows who she can share certain things with because she
Uh-huh.
picked up on verbal or visual cues that let her know, oh, you're not really about that. So
Yeah.
she will basically
Yeah.
say, oh, I can't tell this person that because I can already sense that they're going to have a problem with it. And here's why. And I don't think I was that perceptive at
No,
12. I was not that perceptive at 12.
that's awesome. So that's great. As you navigate your world, your career, your future as a Black woman in the world, Garland, you have succeeded through obstacles that I know that you wish other women to succeed through as well. What advice would you give to a woman who is dealing with the obstacle and not seeing the way through?
Sometimes you need to get a coach. I mean, it's like, the Spartan race. If you're trying to get over the wall or through the wall, or there's a wall and you're not sure how to get over it, you might need to get a coach.
Yeah.
I think sometimes your vision is only so like acute, like you can only see so much, and sometimes you need to step back
Yeah.
and take a breath and determine whether, like, is this even really a wall, or have you created a wall? Because that's the thing.
It is a thing. Yeah.
Is it real?
Mm-hmm.
Or have you created it to be real because of all of the stuff that you're, carrying, managing, dealing with?
Right.
And then I think you have to learn how to rise to where you are. Michelle Obama says this all the time. When they go low, we go high. And what that, to me, when I hear that, it means you have a choice in how you deal with things.
Yes.
You can go low, and when you're on the low, there's nothing good that's going to come out of that.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to go high, and sometimes going high means walking away. Sometimes going high, means, do I need to respond to this? Sometimes going high means figuring out a strategy or a plan to move forward. Going high doesn't necessarily mean you pretend like it doesn't exist or you're above it all. Going high means, what do I need to do to get through this so I'm still intact?
Yes, indeed. And I take it also to mean that we must often stretch ourselves to the next level when faced with some adversity, whatever that may be. So it's always up to us to say, I'm going to grow through this. I'm going to grow because of it. I am going to take another approach that is a higher level of me. I'm going to be a higher level of me. So that's a super great quote. And it's I mean, just the phrase itself, I think people get that feeling that I'm called to a higher something.
I'm called to a higher something. I don't have to respond to this, with my monkey, fight or flight brain. I can decide, how am I going to approach this? And what does that require of me to approach this from a different place? So I think taking your course helps women do that, helps them find it, helps them see it.
Yes.
Helps them show up in the way they need to show up in order to get to that next level or get to where they see themselves. If your vision of yourself is such that you're not feeling like other people are seeing it, something's off.
Yes.
You need to get a coach. If you also feel stuck and you just feel like there's nothing, like, what am I missing here?
Right.
Like, I'm stuck.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Get help, because what's on the other side, Nobody talks, maybe they don't talk about this. Well, I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
What's on the other side?
Right.
You're worth it, man. You're totally worth it.
Right on. Right on. That is, that is interesting. And sometimes I will say to a woman on our clarity calls, I have an advantage now over you because I know what's on the other side of this decision. Because I've seen it hundreds of times. And you're right. When we choose, isn't that really like actually the when things are going low, go high? I mean, isn't that exactly what we were just talking about? Like there is a higher version of you that is available to you. You may not have the access point. You may not be able to find her yet. But a good coach, whether it be me or someone else out there, a good coach is going to help you find her and help you extract the best parts of you and then live differently, which would always be easier, more fulfilled, more in your genius zone, connected to your divinity, and just feeling like, yeah, this is life. This is pretty good. I love talking with you. One of the other things that is fun, Garland, we're talking because of the sisterhood of all the women who are graduates of the workshop, because we have such great, nice connections, and people keep hanging out with each other because it's such a great sisterhood. And I am loving the fact that we are still in touch and still in an orbit where we can share ideas and communicate and engage and just kind of keep on tracking with the great journey of life together. And I can't wait to see what's next for you and watch you continue to live in the full version of Garland Fuller. So congratulations for rising up and taking it high. And it was great talking with you today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Folks, if you liked and were inspired by Garland's story, which I am, we get started through breaking things down and talking about what's really going on in your career through a complimentary career clarity call. And you can book that at mofall.com/live clarity. That's how we get it all started. Let's do an assessment and just talk real talk and find out what's really going on. And if we can help you, we can talk about that path. Garland, thanks again. And folks, it's Mo Fall at mofall.com. See you next time. Bye, Garland. Thank you.
Hi, thank you.